brave enough to push back. This is the Conservative Daily Podcast with Joe Otto.
That's what the Second Amendment was designed to do. If you're going to do something to nullify or take away my rights under the Constitution, come get it.
Max McGuire.
When you look at politicians on the left, they need to convince people that they are victims.
A resistance to the resistance. And now your hosts, Joe Otto and Max McGuire.
And welcome back to another edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. My name is Max McGuire. Joe Otto is in a meeting. He should be here in a minute. Yeah, lots of crazy stuff going on. So let's jump right to it. Arizona put their first tranche of ballots through, and Donald Trump picked up, I think it was 11,000 votes. So he's narrowing his margin in Arizona. Nevada just returned extra votes for Joe Biden, taking his lead from 7,000 to 12,000. But the Trump campaign is filing a lawsuit there, challenging pretty much the whole system. Now, if anyone who doesn't know this, Nevada a couple months ago, their legislature went into an emergency session and decided to completely revamp their voting. So everyone in the state got a ballot if you were registered there, and they legalized ballot harvesting. So no surprise, Democrats turned in a lot of votes, but the Trump campaign is going through it with a fine-tooth comb and finding people who don't live there anymore or have not lived there for the requisite 30 days in order to technically qualify. So they're going to be challenging every single ballot. The challenge is whether or not they can get places like Nevada, places like Arizona to actually stay on the job. And then we see in Pennsylvania, we see this ridiculousness in Pennsylvania, where for days, Democrats, especially Democrats in higher up positions in Pennsylvania, their governor, their attorney general, I'm saying we will not stop counting the votes. That's what they always say. We will keep counting because like Donald Trump says to stop the counting. We will not stop the count. Really interesting. Mr. Producer, go ahead, put up my screen. Today, Allegheny County in Pennsylvania announced that they were stopping the count because the election staff had to take off for, quote, administrative work. And they will not resume counting ballots until Friday. So after the Democrats repeatedly, and that's a Democrat, that's a Pittsburgh County, after Democrats repeatedly saying, we will not stop counting, we will keep counting, we will not buy into Donald Trump's pressure, what do? They stop counting. And this is where the conspiracy theorist in me says, okay, well, you stop counting because you need to know how many ballots you need to create, right? That's the fear. This thing should have been counted. How is it? I mean, obviously it's apples to oranges, but if American Idol can count 100 million, 110 million, 120 million votes in a commercial break, surely the United States of America can do better than this, can do better than Allegheny County taking a day off from voting. What the hell? Anyone else think this is ridiculous? Leave in the comment section if you think this is ridiculous. And then we see what's going on around the country too. Maria Bartiromo, she had a tweet out today. Mr. Producer, go ahead, put up my screen. Maria Bartiromo, Fox host, saying 4 a.m. dump in Wisconsin, 65,000 votes, 100% for Biden. 4 a.m. dump in Michigan, 138,000 votes, 100% for Biden. Arizona poll workers forcing voters to use Sharpies, potentially invalidating their ballots. And Trump leading in Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and they all stopped counting before the vote ferry visits overnight. In Georgia, they've just discovered more ballots. So Donald Trump's lead in Georgia keeps shrinking. And they keep discovering more ballots. A couple days ago, they said there was 50,000 votes left to be counted. Today, they're saying there's 60,000 votes left to be counted. They're going to keep finding votes. This is what the Democrat Party does. If you let them stretch it, the longer they go, the more time they have to steal it. Right? If you go from start to finish and no breaks and you just count everything, there's no time in there for extra ballots to come in. Extra ballots to be slipped into the pile, right? And I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. They're talking about that's what's happening potentially in Michigan. Joe's here. Nice glasses, Joe.
Yeah, I got glasses this morning.
Yeah.
Actually, I wasn't going to wear them, and then I was like, oh, I can see so much better.
You look smart like Nate Silver.
What's that? My doctor said you got to start wearing glasses, and I was like, okay, well, I'll start wearing glasses. So he said, here's your temporary glasses, and we'll get you some new glasses in a little bit. So,
are they long distance or are they readers?
They're kind of readers, so these are the double blue lens deal. Yeah, so they're
kind of like a bifocal.
Not yet.
Old Ben Franklin.
I'm not that old.
So we're just talking about, and Joe, make sure you mute your computer. We're talking about what's going on in all these states. Arizona, Trump is narrowing the lead as they're counting more ballots, but everywhere else that Trump already had a lead, they all took off to give the vote fairy a chance to show up with more Biden ballots. We have reports from Michigan. We have reports from Detroit of at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., middle of the night, people walking into the absentee ballot collection center with literally little red wagons. What's it called? It's the actual, like the little red wagon that you have as a kid, just pulling boxes, walking in with coolers, walking in with suitcases, duffel bags. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And when the Republicans try and get in to look at what they're doing, they kick them out.
Yeah. Well, they stop them. They stopped everyone from going in, right? Hey, listen, the same thing happened to George Bush in 2000. I mean, we forget about that. But this same thing happened in Florida to George Bush. So we're dealing with a similar issue. I think that it'll actually come through. I think that it'll actually end up working where President Trump becomes president. But he's going to have to fight through it. We're going to have to fight through it. There's a 500,000 people that are headed to Michigan right now. I don't know if you knew that, but there's a 500,000 people headed to Michigan, literally to protest the governor and these trolls that are literally just destroying.
Brenda in the comment section says it's a Radio Flyer wagon. Yes, that's the brand, Radio Flyer wagon, and they actually use name brand. But they're throwing so much fraud at
pillowcases. They were bringing in pillowcases filled with stuff.
So they're bringing so much fraud. It's like an absurd amount of fraud, and they're hoping that they can just get this thing certified before you can even count it.
No.
And it was amazing. I don't know if anyone's watching today. Donald Trump's campaign, they had Grinnell out in Nevada, and Grinnell was holding a press conference, and he was bringing forward people who had experience of being disenfranchised. One woman who says that she showed up to vote and she was told that she'd already voted, and the same thing happened to her neighbor. Their ballots had just been stolen out of the mail. Another person who says he was kicked out of a polling place. But Fox was carrying the press conference, and then they cut away from it immediately as those people started, and then you saw Brett Baier and Martha MacCallum start criticizing the Trump campaign for not putting forward evidence. They're saying, oh, well, if you're going to claim voter fraud, you have to show the evidence.
There's a ton of evidence. There's a ton of evidence.
They cut away as they were bringing people up to the podium to say, this is my story, this is what happened to me. They cut away and said, well, the Trump campaign is going to have to start naming names. So on the one hand, Fox says the Trump campaign isn't actually showing us proof, but then when the Trump campaign brings people up to a microphone, Fox cuts away and goes back to Brett Baier and Martha MacCallum.
Yeah.
Hey,
I can tell you right now, no surrender, no retreat, right? That is really what we have to do. You're trying to tell me that no nonsense, like barely can actually speak a sentence, Biden got 10 million more votes than Hillary Clinton? I mean, come on, the guy can't complete a sentence. He can't get enough people to show up to a rally where he could actually, fill a small classroom.
He has John Bon Jovi on stage, and no one shows up for it.
Yeah, no one.
I mean, this is where you have to start looking into all these specifics. Mr. Producer, go ahead and put on my screen. We can't hear the audio, but this is making the rounds online. These are people cheering as GOP poll watchers, challengers are getting kicked out of the counting center in Detroit. So the audio is not coming through because I'm playing it on my PC, but they actually cheered when they kicked them off. Here we have in Pennsylvania, poll workers in Philly, openly, unapologetically wearing Biden campaign face masks. These are the people doing the counting. Listen, that's the whole deal. I mean, you thought that the COVID-19 count was bad. Just wait. We had Jody on the line, but she hopped off. Jody, call back in and we'll get you on. Sorry about that. If you thought COVID-19 counts were ridiculous, these aren't doctors counting this time. They're just pulling Democrats off the street.
No, they're not. They're not just Democrats. They're communists. They're socialists. These are people that are literally want to destroy everything about America, right? And we're letting it happen. So, are you willing to stand up?
New Democrat Party logo.
Yeah.
This is their new logo.
Here's my thing. If we don't stand up here, if this isn't the hill to die on, I don't know what hill there is to die on. Like, we have to die on this hill. This hill. This is it.
Yeah.
Right? No, you don't get to take away our country. No. You want to do that, go make your own country.
Anyone who doesn't know what that's referring to is this, where all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, Michigan and Wisconsin both had huge ballot dumps.
No, Michigan had it twice.
Yeah.
Wisconsin had one big one. Yeah.
This jump up and then over, that's what this is. Fraud.
Yeah.
That's the new Democrat Party logo. I don't care what you say. Go ahead and fact check us. This is the new Democrat Party logo. I don't care. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. Let's go through some of the other things I put together. Oh, yeah, we already went through the Allegheny County. This was amazing. So Donald Trump, his lawyers actually went to court to force Philadelphia to let them in to watch. Philadelphia would let the challengers be in there, but they would put them far too far away to actually see what was going on. The Trump campaign went to court, challenged it, and then they kicked him back out. And then NBC is ruling that the Supreme Court overruled it, but that wasn't true. That never happened. NBC is just making things up. This is the latest. Pennsylvania Supreme Court spokesperson says there's no filing in PA Supreme Court, and the court has not overruled any action by the Commonwealth Court. Again, the PA Supreme Court has not taken any actions on any Commonwealth Court case, nor do they have any pending filings. The NBC was reporting that that Philadelphia had appealed it and that they had won.
This just shows you.
Kicked them out.
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now. This is the hill to die on, people. This is the hill to die on.
We have Jody back on the line. Jody wants to talk about how Nancy Pelosi has planned this for years. Jody, how's it going? Sorry about that.
Hi.
Guys,
say,
why is everyone not sharing, by the way? Everyone hit the share button. Hit the share. Sorry, Jody. Everyone hit the share button. Hit it. Sorry, go ahead, Jody.
Okay, the first thing I'm going to say is I'm in Facebook jail until tomorrow. I'm your top fan,
no.
So I haven't been on. Yes. I called the Democrat. I told them they were stupid, and they reported me for bullying. Anyways, so I'm disabled. So I stay home, and I've been watching Trump every day. I mean, all this time. And Pelosi has set up this Democratic army woven in through everything in the system.
Yep.
With the Democratic-run news media, CNN, MSNBC, PBS, they never show any of Trump's accomplishments. They never showed a full video of Trump's speeches. They took clips, twisted his words, and lied. And then I said, I know that, and then with the planning, now this is my thing. Her plan is to have Biden win through cheating, of course, which we're seeing.
Well,
and
she said that Biden was going to win regardless of the results. She said that.
Right. Well, her plan is, remember she said about the 25th Amendment? So her plan is to get Joe out of there, that he's incompetent, have Harris be president, and then she become vice president. I feel that's what her scheme is. So, and I still think God's on her side because RBG there, she passed away sooner than they thought. So now we have a new Supreme Court justice. So I'm hoping this will all pan out.
Well, I'm hopeful. Listen, we got to put our faith in God. We got to keep fighting. We got to keep holding the faith.
Mm-hmm.
But
absolutely,
listen, this isn't your father's GOP. This happened to Mitt Romney.
I know.
And he sat back and took it, right? The difference is Donald Trump's not going to take it. He's going to fight every single one.
No.
And amazingly, Al Gore fought all the way to December 13th in Florida.
Right.
And the mainstream media egged him on. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Now those same mainstream media types are telling Donald Trump to sit back and take the loss and be quiet. It's
not going to happen.
Right.
Not going to happen. And I can tell you right now, we have millions. Yeah, we have millions of us. We have hundreds of millions of us that will literally stand up and tell them, no, you go back in your corner, get back in your basement.
I can guarantee you, if Trump wins, he's going to change the whole voting system. It's going to all be revamped. You watch.
Yeah.
So,
well,
I mean, I'm sitting here. I can't even. Thank you. I can't even like put any notes, and I'm like sitting here at home going, "Oh my God, I can't even post anything till tomorrow." So hopefully tomorrow I'll be on. If you're on tomorrow.
We'll be
yeah.
on tomorrow.
Okay.
Well, thank you
See
so
you
much
guys
for
then.
calling, and I'm
You're
sorry that
welcome.
you got put in Facebook jail for calling a Democrat stupid. That seems like it's just definitional at that point. But thank you so much for your call.
Max, here's the thing. This is emboldening. They thought that they could go on the street and loot and pillage. They thought they could do that, and we were going to tolerate it. So then we started fighting back and building up organizations to fight against that. And now they want to try and steal the election. They think we're going to sit back and watch? Oh, no. Oh, no,
Yeah.
no. Oh, no.
And remember, Mr. Producer, go ahead, put up my screen. This is a Joe Biden quote. This is a quote. We put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive, actually it's a little bit off, inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. He said that. And the mainstream media said, oh, he misspoke. He was talking about fighting voter suppression. Doesn't matter. Fact checkers don't get to just fact check Freudian slips, right? He said it. They've been saying it for a long time. They told us what they were going to do. They advertised that Donald Trump would win the election on the day of voting, and then they said expect a blue wave of ballots to undo it. What they didn't expect, what they didn't anticipate, was that the blue wave of ballots, that the idiots doing the counting were going to submit them all at once. They submit those over a course of a couple hours instead of over the course of a couple minutes, and that becomes a lot harder to see. But when you see those jumps, it is statistically impossible.
Impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. On both of them, though. Look at the Michigan and look at Wisconsin. Both of them.
Yeah, there was another one in Pennsylvania where they said they just discovered 23,000. Let me get the. I don't want to be misquoted. I want to get the exact one. 23,277 votes came through all in one batch, and 100% were for Joe Biden. The odds of Joe Biden getting every single vote, it just doesn't happen.
It's not possible. It's not possible, and it's all fraud. And frankly, I'm telling you right now, Max, I care about nothing else other than my country. These people are burning flags in the street, right? They're telling us America is over. America's not over. America's not over. We're not laying down for this. You want to bring that crap here? Bring it. Bring it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
I'm trying to find it. Looking at the voter turnout rate for places like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, it is so much higher. I'm trying to find the graph, but when you look at the voter turnout rate, you're looking at 89, 90% in some of these areas. And you look at what they usually on a good year, they get 70%, 71%, 72%. So that might not seem like a big jump, but that is so many orders of magnitude higher, right? That's so many standard deviations away from what an average would be, that you can't get like 5.5, 6 standard deviations away from the average turnout rate and say that there's no fraud.
Right.
Now, this doesn't mean that they're illegitimate ballots. It means that they were probably harvested. You had people going to entire apartment blocks, collecting all the ballots, right?
And then filling them out themselves.
Yeah.
Filling them out themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they did. That's what I mean. You want to talk about extensive? That's what they did. You don't get to be the minority in this country, steal an election, expect that we're going to let Biden be president. There's no way we're going to let Biden be president. Biden will not be president. I'm going to say it again. He will not be president. You are not going to destroy the democracy of this country. No, you're not doing it.
If he gets inaugurated, he's going to be an illegitimate president.
Illegitimate
He's also going to be a
president.
lame duck. But now they're trying to steal
Dude, I'm telling
Georgia.
you, there are hundreds of millions of people in this country who literally will overrun that inauguration. You will not be able to stop the wave that comes. You won't be able to stop it. They won't even be able to have an inauguration. I promise you. I promise you they won't be able to have one. They won't be able to have one. They won't. Look what's happening right now in Michigan.
Mr. Producer Josh
You got a
said
half
road
a million. You got a 500,000 people that are headed up to Michigan right now, to Detroit. 500,000 people from all over the country that are headed to Michigan. They're headed to Michigan. And these shitbags on the media are trying to say these are extremists. These are people that run businesses, that employ people, that take care of their community. That's what they are. No,
Yeah.
no, I won't stand for it. Nobody else will either. No, you don't get to cheat. You don't get to cheat.
And
by the way,
amazing thing is, do you see what Project Veritas put out last night?
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable.
Project Veritas, and now they're censored. They're being censored by Twitter. They have a whistleblower from the United States Postal Service in northern Michigan saying that his supervisor told him that if he finds a ballot, to postmark it as November 3rd, postmark it on Election Day so that it'll be counted. And then they'll rush it to the counting facilities. If that's happening in that USPS branch, I guarantee you it's happening in others, which makes you wonder.
Let's do another.
What are those?
Hey, this is really simple. Let's just do another vote. It's really simple. Let's do another vote.
What are the? I mean, when you look
Max,
at that, let's think about
let's do another vote. Let's restart the
Democrats will never
machine
do that.
and do it again, and then
Notice
have.
how there's no COVID.
Huh?
COVID's not on TV anymore. You know
No,
that?
it's not on COVID. They don't care about COVID. Nobody cares about COVID. They don't care about it. I'm telling you right now, these little shitbags that we have in media and these ones
now
we
he said
have.
it twice.
I don't care.
We're already censored. We already have to be explicit. You can keep saying it.
Yeah, I'm done.
We're already in the explicit pile.
I'm done. And by the way, let me ask everyone that's actually watching right now. Let me ask you this. First of all, hit the share button. Hit the share button. Hit the share button. Let me ask you a simple question, right? And I said this last night as I very calmly told everyone, listen, calm down, relax. We got this.
Mr. Producer, put it on my screen real quick. Put up my screen real quick, Mr. Producer, while Joe's hacking up along. Notice.
No, I was
CNN.
sneezing.
No.
Some of us have sneezed.
Notice how there are no COVID statistics.
No.
You go on CNN midday, all on the right of the screen, all below. It's all how many people have died, how many people have died. It's gone. It's gone. COVID was a tool of the left to force us to take mail-in ballots so that they can force a mail-in ballot to every single registered voter in a state like Nevada. They can send their ballot harvesters into Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan to collect all the ballots, and then they can have their lackeys in the USPS restamping them as election day if they come in late, and then rushing them in the dead of night to go be counted. And it starts making you understand about those duffel bags being dragged into the Detroit, the Wayne County processing center, the little red wagon being dragged in with a big box in it, right? The coolers, people showing up for an 8-hour shift, and they have a cooler like they're going to the beach for a day. I mean, it's incredible, and there's no security. The only security is to take the temperature and make sure you're wearing a mask. Zero security.
Hey, so here, let me say something else, right? So this is what I said last night, and I want to be really clear. I don't personally, I believe fair elections, right? And that's fine. But what part of this has been fair? What part of this in the technology has actually been fair? So I'm going to say what I said last night. I said calmly, we have to just maintain our composure until we don't. But we're going to maintain it right now because Trump is doing what Trump is going to do. We're going to support him. We have to show up to support him. We'll show up to support him, right? And if we have to fight, they show up in the street. We're actually having a protest, and they show up in the street, and they throw one brick. Man, we annihilate them. That's just my opinion. If you throw a brick, if you try to hurt someone, whatever happens to you, it's on you, right? But that's not the biggest part of this. Why? Why do we stay? Why do we stay on Twitter? Why do we stay on Facebook? Why do we use Google? The next thing that we're going to launch, the next thing that's going to happen over the next 2 to 3 months is the walk away. 70 million people walk away from Facebook, walk away from Twitter. I'm telling you, you want to see an effect? And whether it's not the 70 million people that voted, it's 130, 140 million. As you see other people in their family, like, hey, you're not getting on Facebook. You're not getting on Twitter. You're not getting on TikTok. You're not getting on these things, right? Where we actually gravitate towards an environment. We always try to say, oh, they're censoring us. Of course they are. Why do we keep playing their game? Why don't we just walk away from it? So those are the things that we've been working on, Max, is technology to say, we don't need.
We have a statement. We have a statement from President Donald J. Trump. Put up my screen, Mr. Producer. Statement from Donald J. Trump. If you count the legal votes, I easily win the election. If you count the illegal and late votes, they can steal the election from us. Exclamation point.
Yep.
That is a statement right now from Donald J. Trump.
Yep.
Just anyone who didn't see, that's a new logo of the Democrat Party. I want to talk about this. This is crazy. We're going through Michigan's polling, the actual results in Michigan. People have cast a ballot, and we're finding that there's a lot of people casting votes in Michigan who are very, very old. Specifically, we found 7, and I've seen some reports say that some of them have already been thrown out because family members have called. but preliminary, there were 7 voters in Michigan who were born, who if they were alive, would have been older than the oldest human being alive today. One person, Jason Lemoyne Daniel,
1850.
cast a ballot in Flint, Michigan, with a birth date of 1850. 1850, 170 years old.
Yeah.
He's casting ballots. And we went back and looked, and he registered to vote in 2008. Just in time, in October of 2008, just in time for Barack Hussein Obama. Just in time to vote for him. You got 170-year-old people voting in Michigan. You got 120-year-old people voting in Michigan. I mean, this is insane. I saw one that said there was someone from like the 1870s that they caught voting there.
Yeah.
Listen, if you have a deceased family member and you know that they were registered to vote, take the 5 minutes today. And most states have a resource for you to type in a name and a birth date to find if a ballot has been accepted and is counted. If you have a deceased relative, make sure, just take the 5 minutes, type their name in, see if they voted this time, because there are people all across this country doing that, and they're finding that people have voted. Go back to my screen. This is a guy named Kenny Webster posting this on Twitter. Now, again, this is someone posting on Twitter. It might just be making it up, but there's lots of anecdotes like this. My friend John Walton died in July of 2019. According to TexasBallot.org, he voted on October 24th. There's tons of anecdotal evidence of people saying, whoa, my Meemaw just voted. Whoa, my grandpa, my pop just voted. Take the time. Go put in your deceased friends or deceased loved ones, put their names into the state registries and see if they voted. There's a shocking amount of people who are finding that they have grandmothers, grandfathers, parents who have voted and they've been dead for years. So take the time and do it. We can take that off the screen. That's my PSA for today. Take that time because it's incredible.
Well, here
Absolutely
you go.
Incredible. What you got, Joe?
Review your voter registration record, right? I'm going to do it right now.
I did it for me. And even on election day, Texas's Secretary of State's office said I wasn't registered to vote. I went there and they said I was registered, but their online wasn't showing me as registered. But there are plenty of people out there on Facebook, on Twitter, on all the different forums saying, whoa, 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 whoa. People are even saying that they went to the polls and someone said that they had already voted. And this is what happens when you have universal mail-in voting in a state like Nevada. When you put a ballot in every single mailbox of every single registered voter without cleaning the voter rolls, without confirming that person even exists. Like what happens is in apartment buildings, they don't always fit into the tiny little mailboxes that they have in the lobbies of apartment buildings,
right.
And they just leave them on the floor. So if there's no one there to pick it up, all it takes is someone to jump right into the apartment building's lobby, sweep them up, and go on their merry way. Turn them in.
But they're doing it. They're even doing more than that. They're actually reproducing votes that don't even exist. They're not even on the rolls. They don't even have a number that correlates to that particular vote. And that's actually more.
In
Look,
Detroit
all we have to do. We have a caller. We have a caller. Let's go ahead and bring her on. Him on. Someone on.
We got Hazel.
Okay.
Hazel
Hello.
is on the line, a poll worker in Wisconsin. Hazel, how's it going?
I'm doing great. I watch you guys daily. In Wisconsin,
thank
they had 101% turnout. Yet between the registered voters and the votes, there's a 41,000 count difference.
Yeah. How about
We
that?
have more votes than we do registered voters.
That.
And there's no way that they can have registered 41,000 people in one day.
Yeah.
throughout
So
the
I
state.
saw that, and I saw that voter registration number might have been from 2018. They might have had a little bit more registered people voting. So I've seen it presented both ways, but you're absolutely right that the number of the voter turnout in Wisconsin is astronomically high. It is like it does not happen normally, right? If you're leaving everyone to their own devices to go and vote or to ask for a ballot themselves and turn it in, you don't get 89, 90% turnout. You don't get 100% turnout in precincts in Milwaukee.
So how do you explain this? How do you explain the 124% turnout in Nevada? Right next to California, 124%. How do you explain that?
Can be nothing but fraud. I mean, We received in my home, myself, 9 ballots for people who I didn't even know lived there.
Yeah.
We used it as starting our grill.
Yeah. Burn them.
You know,
But-
Burn 'em.
we didn't even ask for them. They were just mailed to the address.
But see, that's
So
the
the
problem.
way that
That's
you
the
can
problem.
get
They've
there-
actually
the way-
cheated. They've cheated this
Right.
whole thing. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, we're not going to accept this election. We're not. It's not an illegitimate president. We're not going to accept it. Like you have 100 million people that I promise you are going to show up on the doorstep of these Democrats. We're not going to accept it. And by the way, these guys that are going to walk around in these protests and say, if this person in front of me, I'd punch you in the face. All right, I got to tell you, we're going to get to the point where I'm already at the point. Right?
So
I'm already-
Wisconsin does have same day registration. So that's important. It is possible for someone to show up on the same day and register to vote. The problem is to say that you have astronomically high turnout, right? Astronomically high turnout. And to say that the only way you got there was through massive amounts of same day registration, that's to suggest that regular voters who are already registered turned out at astronomically low levels, right? So if you're saying that we have super high turnout because we got a ton of same-day registrations, that's to suggest that Wisconsin went against the averages in the rest of the states and had next to no turnout among people who are already registered. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that we have a voter turnout level that is 5.5, 6 standard deviations above what you would expect to see, the average. You can't say that and then say, oh, we got there by massive amounts of same-day registration.
Right.
Because that would suggest that no one else was actually interested in voting, and you had record low voter participation among everyone who was registered before Election Day. You can't have it both ways.
No, you can't.
Yeah, they came in and out of our polling place, real fast. We didn't have them, the booths, the machines 6 feet apart. They were all, clumped together. So you could see what buying next to you was voting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
They think we're stupid. I'm telling you right now. I mean, guys, as you are listening to me right now on this show, like if you're listening to the podcast later, the reckoning is about to happen. Hazel, the reckoning is about to happen. You're going to see the reckoning happen in Wisconsin. You're going to see it happen in Michigan, right? Those states should be redone. Those states should be redone. They should have a new election in those states. And if you want to vote, you have to show up at the polling place. We'll keep it open for 5 days if you have to. Huh? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
We're done.
Thank you so much for your call, and I really hope that they work this stuff in Wisconsin out, because it would be really terrible if they steal this thing.
Yeah, congratulations on your new son.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. It's crazy. This is the world he's coming into, but he wore his Make America Great Again hat yesterday proudly. I mean, he slept, so he had no idea what was going on, but he still wore it.
You'll see pictures later.
But thank you so much, and thank you so much for your call. People asking, how do we check our family members? I just posted in the Facebook comment section. It is a long string of all different links. Now, some states don't let you do it. Some states do let you do it. So in the comment section, I posted, it should be all 50 states. Some don't have it, but if they don't, it says they don't. But all different ways you can check to see if you voted. I'm going to do it in the YouTube comment section. Hopefully it's not too many. It's too many characters. Damn it. Let me find a new way to post it. And I'll find a way to post that in YouTube. It's too many characters for YouTube, but I'll post that right there. Here it is. Here's a link to the same deal. Joe, do you think that there's too much fraud to catch? Do you think, because that's the thing, you have to prove it. You either have to prove that there is enough fraud to disqualify enough ballots to change the results, or you have to say that fraud and dirty dealing, it's so endemic to the whole process that you can't trust anything about it. Do you
Correct.
think that it's possible to reach that level? Because it's a race against the clock before they certify these results.
No, I mean, they're not going to be able to certify the results without us knocking over buildings. And I don't mean me knocking over a building, but I'm going to tell you right now, there are people so angry right now at what's happening that there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a big problem. And that big problem is not one that they're ever going to come back from. The National Guard is not going to come in and protect people from people who are stealing elections. They're not going to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to switch sides. We're going to have people on the National Guard that literally turn over to the people and tell the guys, get out. Who wants to run this deal? Because they can't. It's going to happen.
We have Robert on the line coming up next. Robert, how's it going?
I'm great. I'm like everybody else. I'm a little bit upset at what's going on, and I heard what you're talking about. I would like to check and see if me and my wife's parents, which are all dead, and grandparents, they're dead. We want to find out if they voted, and if they did, and we can prove it. Who do we send this information to?
So
What state are you calling
so
from?
you're Florida. You're Florida, correct?
No, sir. I'm in Texas.
Oh, okay, Texas. Okay, I can get you the Texas one right now. Hold on, let me look. The Texas, it's txballot.org. txballot.org. And there's a link in the Facebook description, and I also include a link in the YouTube comment section. But txballot.org will get you there. It should. It might not show it. It's kind of a mess, but it'll help.
Okay, and say we find that they did vote and that they voted. Who do we send that information
send
to?
it to us. No, everyone, send it to us.
Send it to us.
All right, that'll work.
Also send it to Texas Secretary of State's office. In Texas, the Secretary of State is who manages elections. So you're going to want to send it there. You're also probably going to want to send it to your local police as well, because they're going to want to try and track that down.
All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate y'all standing up for what we believe in, and we're standing behind y'all. And like he said, he will not take office.
Nope.
Guarantee that.
No, he will not take office. And I'm telling you right now, he won't take office. As clear as I'm looking at you right now, he will not take office. God bless you, by the way. All right.
You too, brother.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the call. Yeah, so we have a whole list of all different links you can use. I'm going through them. Most of them seem like they work. Some might be a little glitchy. There's a lot of people using them today. But take that time. If you have a parent, if you have a loved one, even a friend, and in most of the cases, what you do is you just put a first name, last name, and their city or county. That can usually help get you there. Some of the states require a voter ID number, which might be a little harder to get, but at least try and see, because you'd be shocked. There's a lot of people who are finding out that their father, deceased for years, is now voting. We have another caller up. Zach is on the line.
What's up, Zach?
How's it going?
Hey. Lots of stuff going on in our nation right now, huh?
100%.
There is. There's a lot going on.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about how you were saying, how do we disqualify this? Because there's a little bit of information now out there where counters have been videotaping or been being videotaped by people that are watching them, and they're actually throwing out ballots as they're counting ballots too. So if we go back and do a recount, you're not really going to actually get a full recount because they've already thrown away the ballots that they decided to throw away when they were initially counting.
Right.
So I think that's going to be the legal argument that they make to say it's all bad.
Hey, fruit from the poison tree.
On that front, you're going to have to take the route of people, like what they're calling for people in Nevada and Arizona to do. Check to see if your ballot has been counted. People in Arizona, and that's what this whole Sharpie gate is talking about. Some people saying the Sharpies are perfectly fine. Some people say that it can send off the machines, put them on, make them go haywire. People are reporting that they voted by Sharpie, and they're going back and checking now, and their vote was canceled or was disqualified online. It's showing. So that's going to be part of it. Getting everyone who had their votes disqualified or that they never showed up, right? Getting them or being able to prove that it actually reached the election office, but it was never counted, right? Getting them to identify themselves, putting together that class, and then filing a lawsuit that way, because then you need that evidence. It's not just saying, hey, well, we think there's fraud. Once you can actually name names and say that these people were disenfranchised, then it's a little bit easier to get around that. But you're right. Once they've already destroyed the ballots, once they've already taken the ballots out of the envelopes and separated them, there's really no way to go back and see if it was in the case of Florida, in the case of Pennsylvania, if it was in a secrecy envelope. Which, if a ballot shows up, it's not in a secrecy envelope, they are not supposed to count it. But they put the challengers 100 feet away, and they gave them binoculars to check to see whether the ballots were in secrecy envelopes. That was the best they could do. So once they're separated, once they're counted, it's really hard to put that genie back in the bottle, as you're suggesting, and proving that they came in good or they came in bad.
Guys, hit the
other
share
interesting
button,
thing too.
Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
People to share.
I was just telling people to share. I'm looking at all these people on here, and they're not sharing. Share.
Got to get the word out. It's the only way we do it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The
Zach.
other interesting thing that I saw was on Google where they're counting the ballots. the number for Pennsylvania has been going up and down. So it's been going from like 86 to 89. That was like 2 days ago. Of the 89% of the total ballots have been cast. And then it dropped.
Yeah.
It was from like 450,000 down to 300,000. Then it dropped back down to 86% of the votes had been tallied again the next day. And we're starting at 300,000. Then it drops another 150,000 yesterday for it. We're back up to 89. I haven't checked it today, but that number going up and down is showing how many of these mail-in votes really are coming. I mean, that is a big chunk of votes that are just randomly showing up all of a sudden. How did we not know how many we had at the very beginning if all these are
Now
just coming in all of a sudden?
Now it's down to 88.
Now it's down to 88. Cool. So they're having really a fun time with that.
And that's why the idea, they took off today. They stopped counting. Trump's campaign went to court, and they got a judge's order in Pennsylvania forcing them to let their challengers in and saying they must be allowed at least 6 feet away from the ballot so they can see them. And at that point, Philadelphia ordered all counting to stop, and they refused to let them in. So, I mean, it's just...
You want to see a war happen? You want to see a war? Zach, you think we're headed to a war? You think Biden is going to actually be our president? Is he your president? Mm-mm.
Biden will not. I mean, so here's what I think, and this is, be careful, everybody that's listening right now, because the evil in the world is also trying to sidetrack you from reality. So keep your blinders up as you're reviewing information and be nonpartisan about how you view it, because there are people... It's kind of like how I view Q, where like the base premise of Q is good, but then you get down the rabbit hole and people automatically dismiss you. That's what they're going to try and do with this same information.
Like, Satanists eating children, and you're like, well, let's just talk about the pedos in Hollywood. You got me there. I'm on board with that one. But then you see that.
So you have to be very careful.
Satanic temple, and then you're like, well, maybe they're onto something. It's all over the place. But yeah, I agree. You can get a little sidetracked with the stuff.
But it is, I mean, there is a lot of information out there right now that, like them stopping the voting, and then all of a sudden in swing states where it's neck and neck, the whole freaking voting time that they're registering early, and all of a sudden they're getting 100% of ballots are for Biden. Like the American public will eventually wake up as long as you don't go down the rabbit holes and stay to the real topics of this is what we can prove, this is what's out there. But I don't think Biden will become president, and I also think the rhinos are going to get found out by this whole thing being it's two birds with one stone. Rhinos and the corrupt Democrats are all going to be out there, because it's the same thing Bush did, right? This is almost picturesque to what happened with Bush and Gore in that election. Like,
except they're doing it everywhere.
Well, they built a spider web. They built a spider web of people. They actually have been telling people what they're going to do. I mean, this Our Revolution movement that the Project Veritas undid for Christopher Jacks, that's a real thing. I mean, the person that was standing right next to Christopher Jacks on the stage when they had their Our Revolution deal is the person that runs Colorado Springs Antifa, right, on the other end of the city, right, the other end of the Front Range. I mean, these people literally, and she's a journalist, acting as a journalist, by the way. He, whatever.
What we expect from our elected officials is that they will, at the very least, maintain the appearance of propriety, right? If they have even the appearance of impropriety, they're supposed to step down. The burden of proof in proving that elected officials did something wrong is never beyond a reasonable doubt. It's always the appearance of impropriety. If there's smoke, you just assume that there's fire, and you're supposed to put someone else in charge. But you're seeing in Georgia, they had a pipe break, and they said, okay, no more counting for tonight. They sent the poll watchers and the ballot challengers home, and then they started counting. Right? In Michigan, there was one Republican challenger in Wayne County. They sent him home and said, we're done for the night. And after he left is when the big rush of ballots came through. Right?
Well, that right there,
97% for Biden.
So
disgusting.
So we should take that 140,000 and disavow it. It's really simple.
That's the challenge.
That's a simple deal. You lied, you cheated, you stole. You don't get the election. And by the way, why is it the people in the U.S., Zach, to your point, why can't we wake up and stay focused on the point? The point is this: President Trump has more legitimate votes, period. That's it. It's the end stop, right? President Trump is the president. We'll take one of two things. One, we have a new election, right? I'll do another election where we allow poll. We set the rules, right? We allow poll judge.
Really hard.
COVID's not that bad. Vote in person.
Yeah,
and wear
vote
a
in person.
mask.
Wear a mask.
Republicans that hate masks, wear a mask. Just everybody wear a mask for one another and go vote in person. I mean, we're on the brink of civil war right now.
Oh, we are
100% on the brink of civil war.
And I'll tell you what. I'll bring the popcorn.
Last point, you're right, Zach. We are on the brink of a civil war, and we're more so than yesterday because when you see Philadelphia get handed a judge's order that says you must let the GOP get in to watch, and then they say for days saying we will not stop counting, we will count every single vote, we will not stop until it's counted. As soon as they get handed a judge's order, they say, okay, stop the vote. We're going to go all the way to the Supreme Court to make sure that Republicans can't be in the room. I mean, it's just so obviously crooked when you see.
And people
you see in Michigan, Detroit, when they're putting up the poster boards to cover up the windows so people standing in the lobby, they said that no one can come in the room because of COVID. So then they stand in the lobby, they're looking through a window, and they start putting poster board over the window and pizza boxes so no one can see what they're doing. I mean, it's just so obviously crooked. And that's why you're seeing these protests in Arizona, in Michigan, in D.C., in Philly, because it's just so obvious, right? I mean, you feel like you're at like Tammany Hall back in the day where they're stuffing ballots in there. You feel like there's nothing you can do. You feel like it's the Battle of Athens when those corrupt local politicians, I believe, was it Kentucky or Tennessee, when they start stuffing the ballot boxes with ballots and took World War II veterans taking guns to make sure the election wasn't stolen. That's what it feels like. And I don't want it to be that way. But when the steal is happening literally right in front of us.
And the steal in Colorado,
and no
by the way.
transparency.
None.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think that both sides would understand that you have to have transparency. In this contested of an election, if you do not have transparency, then what do we have? Nothing.
Yeah, I think the
big globalists take it over.
They expected the blue wave. Where Joe Biden would get called for Pennsylvania early. He'd get called for all these states early, and no one would be watching. So then they could just trickle through all the fake ballots, all the absentee ballots, and no one would know. No one would care to look because it was so obvious. Joe Biden was ahead by 30, right? But in a close contested election, you cannot have any funny business. And we need an election. Listen, if Joe Biden wins, he wins. But there shouldn't be an asterisk. He's not Barry Bonds in the steroid era, right? There shouldn't be an asterisk next to a president. There shouldn't.
Nope.
No. And there's no way America will come together if they don't do it. That's why I find it so weird that Democrats are arguing that nothing to see here, move along. And it's like, dude, they're locking people out of the counting room. And you guys are just like, oh, that's just totally normal. Our government is always trusted. I love big government. They never do anything bad, and they're the great. It's like, when the fuck were you born, guys? Sorry for the French.
That's all right. We already got it strict, so you're good.
We already got it explicit. Listen, we're all fired up.
But it's just mind-boggling.
For the last 4 years, Democrats have been saying that Russians half a world away can change election outcomes. And now they're saying that, oh, no, the people wearing the Biden masks in the counting rooms, they can't change the results. But a Russian on a laptop half a world away, he can? Come on, guys.
Well, they can with the voter rolls, Max. I mean, that was the one thing that came out with the mail-in voting. No one was talking about it, but the voter rolls are so suspect to hacking, and you can add in names, take away names, add people in. Like, that is the security problem with mail-in voting. But everyone's like, mail-in voting's great. Nothing can go wrong with this. Like, really?
I don't think, by the way, we're going to have this resolved anytime soon without another election. I just don't. I don't think that we're going to be able to. I don't think you'll be able to satisfy the real. And I think that the politicians in this country are smart enough to know. They're smart enough to know that the American people, the patriots in this country, the people that actually love this country, because remember, these Antifa guys, these people on the left that are Biden supporters, they're chanting no more USA, no borders, no walls, no more USA. They're saying that. They want to destroy everything we're about from inside of us, right? I promise you, they're looking at it going, well, we know that those 65 million people that voted for President Trump, we know that those 65 million people are real people, right? And the wrath of God will come down on this country like never before, like you've never seen before, if we don't step in and do something. So I actually think that as this goes through the court system, that they're going to have to do one of two things: declare President Donald Trump the victor, right? Send in the National Guard, squish this, whatever you want to call it. These people, send them back to their basement. That's number one. Or number two, have another election where people can actually show up, right, in person and vote. Period. End stop.
Yep.
Those are going to be your only two. And I promise you, if you did it in Colorado, you'd see 20% of the vote are fraudulent just in Colorado. 20%. I bet you that Donald Trump would have won this election had it not been for this string of people in this Our Revolution deal, these communists that are in Colorado. We are not a solidly blue state. I live in this state, and I'm going to tell you something else. Here's something you should know. We actually did campaigns for the entire Douglas County GOP, right? So that's the Douglas County Republicans. We did work for them, right? I also, through FEC United, sent people and said, you need to volunteer and become a poll watcher. You need to become a judge. We put an entire group of people out there just to watch them.
Poll watching is hard when it's all mail-in voting because
But
no
hold
one
on.
watches the drop boxes.
But we were able to make sure that at least here we aligned everything. I'm going to tell you, guess what happened? It's never happened. This has never happened in the history of Colorado. This has never
They
happened.
voted red.
100%. We won 100% of those campaigns. 100%. Now,
Yep.
we have
That's
really
what
good
someone was
data.
checking them.
And we got lots of people to come out. We had people checking them on both sides, and they couldn't cheat there. You go over
They're also
one.
lower campaign. We're seeing a lot of these states is that Donald Trump, people voted for Biden and they didn't vote for anyone else. So when you look at Georgia, when you look at North Carolina, when you look at Michigan, you're seeing different vote totals for president versus Senate, which means that there are people who just voted for Trump or against Trump and we're done, right? So
Act register
it's a
roll.
little easier.
That's what it is.
It's easy because you didn't have to go through all the questions, right? They got lazy.
Yep.
I'm telling you right now, we are dealing with a fraud that you don't see in third world countries. I'm also going to go back to 2008, Kenya burning.
You do, though, Joe. This is only in third world countries
Only.
that you see this,
Oh.
not in America.
But even in
It's
third world,
ridiculous.
but even Zach, even in third world countries, I was Kenya burning 2008, February 2008. Actually went from November to February, right? Kenya burning, where the people in Kenya knew that there was a fraud. They knew it was a fraud. They revolted on the street. 10,000 Kenyans were killed, right? I was there.
Nope.
I was there,
So sad.
right? But they revolted, and what they ultimately had to do is have a president and a prime minister, right? They had to have both,
Yeah.
right? That's how they settled it. But they knew that the people knew it was fraudulent. And so that rise up, these are normally amazing people, by the way. People of Kenya are amazing people on every side.
Yep.
But they wanted to cheat the people of Kenya out of a free and fair election. And what happened is they rose up. So they had to have a president and a prime minister, President Odinga and, Kibaki and Odinga, right? And frankly, that worked because it allowed for them to settle out some things. But even in Kenya, they recognized it. In the U.S., we recognize it. And we recognize it now more than ever. It's been happening for years. But now more than ever, they had to, because of the red wave, they had to do what they did. And now it's coming to roost, right? The reckoning is about to happen.
Zach, before we let you go, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think the outcome is going to be in places like Philadelphia?
I think that Trump will lose this election, but for the nation, everyone will re-vote. Because otherwise, I mean, as soon as the violence of the Civil War starts, the reality will really hit of what's happening in the nation. And the rhino, I mean, one more thing, kind of on the same topic, is people are no longer buying the BS rhino story of, hey, we won some seats in the House and we won some in the Senate, so Trump lost, but this is great. It's like, you rhinos, we hate you as Americans right now. Actually hate you, and you guys will be gone in the very near future, too.
We recognize them. We recognize them.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your call.
Hey, God bless you,
Zach.
Zach.
He's
Stay
absolutely
safe.
right.
Have a good one.
And if I remember correctly, when Zach started calling in, he was a little bit more on the fence about a lot of these things. This is a wake up call for everyone. And
He's very
right.
educated.
When it comes
He's
to
very
like-
educated. He spends a lot of time educating himself, and he
when it
speaks
comes to
with.
like the establishment GOP, he's absolutely right when he says Like, no, we're not going to accept the fact that Republicans picked up a governorship, that Republicans retained all of the legislatures that we already had, state legislatures. Republicans picked up House seats. Republicans slowed the bleeding and kept control of the Senate. But Donald Trump lost in a squeaker? Like, come on. Come on. Does anyone actually believe that? Does anyone actually believe that Joe Biden will go down his history as the man who got more votes for president than any other candidate in American history? More than the first black presidential candidate, more than the first female presidential candidate? Does anyone actually believe that? No.
Hey, and whose side do you think the police are going to be on when all this stuff breaks out? Whose side do you think the people that serve in the military are going to be on? What side do you think they're going to be on? I can tell you right now what side they're going to be on. I can tell you right now what side they're going to be on, and it's not going to be the side of these clowns. It's not. So when you want to see what's happening, when the first bullet is fired, right? When the first bullet is fired, I promise you, and it's going to happen. I'm telling you. I said it 6 months ago. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. When that first thing happens, God help us. God help us. And you better be on the side of God.
Go ahead, put up my screen. Put up my screen real quick, Mr. Producer. We put this on our Facebook page yesterday. These are the 4 boxes that are useful in the preservation of liberty. You have the soapbox, that's trying to convince people that you're right. You have the ballot box, that's where you vote. You have the jury box, where you take it to the courts and you try and hold the criminals responsible. And then you have the ammo box, where people start shooting at each other. That's where the tree of liberty has to be fed with the blood of patriots every now and again. We are at the jury box stage. All this year, we were at the soapbox trying to convince people, hey, you know what? Trump's not bad. He's not what the media says he is. You should vote for him. We tried the ballot box, and they're stealing it, folks. Now we're at the jury box. And if we start seeing more of this, like what we see in Philadelphia, where Trump lawyers, and we're not talking about like nobodies. We're talking about Pam Bondi, Rudy Giuliani, showing up with court orders in their hands. Very simple, saying you must let this person in the room and let them be 6 feet away. And you have the actual election official saying, well, we're going to need some time to think about that and to appeal. And they walk away. We're going to go through.
And then you have the news saying that they actually took it to the Supreme Court, and you have them lying.
Yeah.
Where are the fact checkers? Where are the fact checkers?
You have them completely lying. And so I don't like saying it, but if this jury box does not, if we cannot get resolution, the next box on the list of 4 boxes is, unfortunately, the ammo box. And I hope that everyone has been stocking up, because it's going to get froggy.
Hey, I know you could still talk a little bit. You guys can go through it. I just want to say a couple things. I got to go, right? I got a meeting I got to be at right after this. But I want to tell everyone that's listening, you can pull it back up on screen. I want to tell everyone that's listening that courage is more infectious than fear. There's massive amounts of sacrifice that is necessary in these days. We recognize that. But you have to be willing to stand up. That means you have to get involved. That means you have to be willing to protest. That means you have to be connected to other people. We have this thing where you can actually text freedom to 89517. Do that so that every day we can talk to you. But we got more stuff happening. We got a walk away movement that FEC United is putting together. We have different technology platforms that we're having conversations with. We will walk away from all of this. All 70 million people, we will walk away. Watch stock prices drop. Watch people lose their jobs. And you know what? They can say, we can survive without you. No, they can't. They can't. You can't have a 70% deduction in revenues and still survive. You can't. The hemorrhaging will start. We are going to walk away. They want to censor us. We're walking away, right? And I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't think that we actually have the power to do it, we do. We're talking about censoring. We're getting around it, breaking algorithms, right? We're forcing them to do things our way. We're seeding lawsuits. We're getting huge amounts of donations over here so that we can actually sue them, right? We're connecting with other organizations to class action lawsuit. We're building technology to make sure that we don't need these organizations, right? But you are going to have to stand up. You are going to have to do something to sacrifice. Now, whether that's giving money to something or whether that's you actually volunteering and being on the front lines, you have to make that decision. No longer can you sit on the couch and just type on your typewriter and it be okay. It's not okay. It's time to take our country back. So, hey, God bless you. God bless the United States. President Trump is going to be president for another 4 years. We just have to make sure that we stay calm, cool, collected, right? Until a time where we're not. All right. God bless you. Thanks, Max.
We'll stay live a little bit for a couple more minutes. Yeah, no, it's there's a lot going on, and we're going to stay on it. I am not as pessimistic as I was yesterday. Yesterday, we knew that there was fraud. We didn't know just how much. Then you start seeing the red wagons of ballots being brought in. You start seeing what Project Veritas dropped, which is the USPS worker admitting that he was told by a supervisor to backdate ballots so that they could then be rushed to the counting centers and be included, even if they arrived after the post office closed on Election Day or after the 3rd. I want to put this up, Mr. Producer. Go ahead, put up my screen. This was a bill from Representative Massey, and it was a bill that Democrats voted against. I want to make sure you understand this. This is a bill that Democrats voted against. They voted to block this legislation. What this bill said, it said, quote, whoever with the intent to falsify the date on which a postmark was applies to a mailed ballot described in subsection A2, a genuine postmark that bears the date other than the date on which such postmark was applied, shall be subject to penalties set forth in such subsection. So basically, this was a bill that would have made it a federal crime. Well, it's already a federal crime to falsify a postmark, but it would have made it an extra, or even worse crime for a postal worker to apply a fraudulent postmark to a ballot, a mail-in ballot. And Democrats voted it down. They said, nope, that will not be law. We will not let that be law. And now all of a sudden you're hearing these stories from the Michigan USPS office in northern Michigan. Whistleblower saying that he was instructed to apply a previous postmark to mail, so then it would then be rushed to the counting centers. Now, this is fraudulent. This is so fraudulent. And I want to we mentioned this. Put my screen on one more time, Mr. Producer. Mention this. This is I believe this is a Ben Franklin quote. I think it's Thomas Jefferson. Blood of Tyrants. I think it's Thomas Jefferson. People can tell me in the comment section. I believe this is a Thomas Jefferson quote. Yes, Thomas Jefferson. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of tyrants. Now, that's not a call to arms, but that is us saying, we've covered this a lot. We'll probably talk exclusively about this tomorrow or another day this week. I am not bullish on a civil war. Joe tends to be a little bit more bullish when it talks about impending civil war. I'm not bullish on it. But as every time we talk about this, what I come away with is that we are closer than we were when we started the episode, or we're closer than we were the last time we talked about it. And listen, if Joe Biden wins, he wins. But he's not going to actually win if Republicans aren't allowed to watch them count the votes. Oh, yeah, we won. Joe Biden wants to go out and claim victory today. And Republicans weren't allowed to be in the room when all those massive spikes of Joe Biden vote tallies came in. There was a spike today in Philadelphia. It was today, yesterday, last night. Spike in Philadelphia. 23,000 plus ballots counted in Philadelphia, 100% for Joe Biden. The odds, forget about the 100,000 ballots in Michigan. Forget about the 50, 60,000 ballots in Wisconsin. Just look at 23,700 and change ballots. The odds of every single one of those being for Joe Biden, impossible, statistically impossible. Just like when you see precincts in Philadelphia where not a single person voted for Donald Trump, statistically impossible to happen without outside intervention. So we're going to keep covering this. We're going to keep talking about this. And unfortunately, we are closer to that point where the tree of liberty will have to be refreshed with the blood of tyrants. I hope it never comes. Listen, I have 2 kids now. I have a newborn son. I don't want that. But if it happens, it happens. And listen, Democrats are not leaving us. Joe Biden ran as the guy who's going to bring us all together. And here we are 2 days after the election. And poll observers, poll challengers are being locked out. The counts being stopped. People in Pittsburgh area, the election officials just took off. Is that why we're taking an administrative leave day? They have like 30,000 ballots left to count. And so we're going to take off in Allegheny County. We need a day. We need a mental health day. And I said it before. They stop counting to give time for the ballot fairy to figure out how many votes Joe Biden needs. Now, in some states like Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Nevada, the ballot ferry is legal because they're allowing people to turn their ballots in after Election Day. And by that, I mean they're allowing it to reach an election office after Election Day, supposedly being mailed on or before Election Day, but they also aren't requiring a postmark. So in those 3 states, the ballot ferry is legal. The magical ballot ferry showing up with a basket of ballots for Joe Biden to change the race. But in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Georgia, ballot ferry is very much illegal. And it is quite telling that all of these massive surges in vote tallies for Joe Biden all came in the dead of night, and it all came after Republican poll challengers and poll watchers were sent home being told that they were done counting for the night. Listen, if Joe Biden is the first president in history ever to have 100,000 people vote for him in a row, listen, if that's true, then it's true. But does anyone really think that happened? Right? Does anyone really think that it's on the up and up to happen in the dead of night after they had shut down counting? After all the poll challenges had been sent home, we're going to restart in the morning. All of a sudden, 3 a.m., 4 a.m. ballot dumps, exactly what Donald Trump warned about. Now, of course, it's not legitimate. It's, I pray that we don't have to go down this path. And I pray that all legal votes are counted, because I think if you get all legal votes, all votes that were not harvested, and that's the problem. You can never tell. Once it's in the ballot box, once it's in the collection box, you can't tell there was someone who dumped 100 in there illegally. Even though we have on videotape, we showed it yesterday, a Philadelphia woman dumping a bunch of ballots into a ballot collection, and she can't legally do that. But at that point, how do you prove it? How do you prove that she put those people's ballots in? You can't. It's from the legal perspective, it's almost like the perfect crime. You can get the person, but you can't invalidate the ballots for harvesting. It's and then this is even worse. We'll end on this. In Nevada, they're not letting Republican challengers observe the actual signatures on the ballot and to compare them with the signatures on file. They're not letting the challengers do that. They're not in Pennsylvania. They said they're not going to disqualify ballots if the signatures don't match. They're not going to let challengers challenge whether the ballot came in its secrecy envelope, whether it came in with a signature, whether the signature matches, whether they cross their T's, dot their I's. It's going to be so hard to get that genie back in the bottle, but we have to keep fighting, and fighting we will. Well, that's going to be it for this edition. Please do hit that share button if you haven't already. Please do hit the like button. Please do comment on YouTube. Please do give us a thumbs up. Please do hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell for notifications. We're going to keep covering this all week. We might even go live. If there's big developments in the evening, we'll go live. But we're definitely going to keep covering this. And we are going to start talking about Civil War. Because Joe's already cursed, so fine. This shit is frightening, people. It's absolutely terrifying. And I don't think we just like we never would have known that the deep state was spying on Trump if Clinton had won, we never would have known the depth of this corruption, of this fraud, if they had a blue wave like they expected. Remember, the Washington Post poll in Wisconsin said Biden was up 17. We're gonna have to talk about that this coming week too. The effect of fraudulent polls in basically dissuading people from voting. How many Republicans didn't vote in Wisconsin because they saw that Biden was winning by 17? You cannot legitimately conduct a poll and say that you cannot be off by 17 points. You just can't. So we're gonna have to talk about that too. But make sure that you hit the share button. Make sure that you subscribe, hit the bell for notifications on YouTube. That's going to be it for this edition of the podcast. If you like the podcast, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do like and follow our Facebook page. Also, we have our audio podcast links in the description. Very important. Please do go there and subscribe to our audio podcast. Really does help us get up in the rankings. You can do so on Apple Podcasts. You can do so on Google Play. You can do so on Spotify. A lot of people watching us on Spotify now. Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean. Please do it. If you can't watch the podcast, you can at least listen to it when we post it immediately after the show as you go about your day. As Joe mentioned earlier, Text FREEDOM to 89517. You'll get text alerts when we go live because Facebook and YouTube have stopped letting people know when we go live. Funny how that works. You can join our newsletter. There's a link in the description to do that. Also, Conservative Daily. Follow us on Parler. We'll be happy to follow you back. So as I said, my name is Max McGuire. Joe had to sign off a little early. Remember that the fight to take back our country clearly isn't over, but the only way we win is if we all stand and fight together.